Good afternoon, good evening, all. We are back for more woo-woo, and I am joined by the master of esoteric, salty traveling sea. How are you doing?
I'm wearing my esoteric hat, so Purple nailed it. Yeah, things are still a little rough here in rebuilding the studio land, but let me shout some people out. Hello to Dadman Walking 55. It's great to see you. The one and only Jacob Iron says, hey, Salty. Classic Comics is in the house. D. Bud Martin, Adega. Smile a while for me. Look at all the usual suspects. So
we've got a fantastic chat as always, and we've also got some absolutely fantastic things to talk about. So if it's all right with Salty, I am going to kick things off with something that's actually really made me smile. Now, you know that we love to talk about cryptids, and we've talked about black cats in the past, but
yes,
we actually have a cryptid that was thought to be a cryptid that turns out to be real. So for the first time ever, something that was thought to just be kind of a myth, even though people had claimed to have seen them, it is the black Canadian lynx has been photographed for the first time. And just look at this thing. It's adorable. I love lynx. I think they're fantastic. I know they're slightly smaller of the big cats that you guys have, and obviously this is in Canada, but I think America has lynx as well, if I'm correct.
Yeah, we do. We totally do.
So.
I'm not convinced this isn't Zax who glued like a Romulan set of ears to his cat and is just effing with us. The one and only Kyle Zax 7, of course. That's who I'm referring to. Of course,
it does look a little bit grumpy, doesn't it? Now, down below,
yeah.
there is actually some footage that people filmed, so it's not just this slightly pixelated picture. But let's see what they've got to say. So, a black-coated lynx has been photographed for the first time by a researcher at the University of Alberta, Canada. Thomas Young, also employed by the government of Yukon, recorded the animal in a 30-second video on his cell phone. This is really cool. So this is a unique finding, and it's in an article, Paint It Black, first record of melaninism in Canadian lynx. So I love this. This is great. So this goes back actually to August of 2020. Really?
No way.
Okay.
Why didn't we hear about this?
So that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
So do black lynx matter? You know what I was going to do?
Hey-o.
Black lynx matter.
They certainly matter to me.
Smile a while for me says they have lynx in Minnesota. It's true. They have them in northern Wisconsin as well, I believe, going into the Dakotas. I know you guys have what you like to call a mountain lion over there in the UK, which is like a tiny little cat that looks...
Yeah,
it looks like a Furby version of an American lynx. You guys think you're all badass over there with your...
It's basically a tabby cat. Yeah. But if everything's small in the UK, we've got less room.
Ladies. Az. We'll have to talk to Az about that, about size. Size matters. Hello to Ronan Rankateur. Great to see you. Look at all the awesome faces. DJ Ronnie G is in the house. He says, hey, kitty, lynx scratches face. It's like
Yes.
it's like it's Alyssa Milano, only this has so much more charm for a unshaven. Should I do it? No, I'm not gonna do it. You know what I was gonna say.
I know exactly where you were going with that. Yes. And I love it. Ronan Racator says, I had a great uncle, my grandma's brother, who had a cabin in the 80s where he had a lynx bobcat that would visit him, and his wife even had a picture with his arm around it.
Okay,
are
that's
these
cool.
things actually that tame? I didn't
No.
realize, because I know you're not supposed to mess with things like mountain lion.
Well, you can. Should you is a whole. There's a lot of things you can do. The question becomes: should you do them? Should you do them? Like messing with DNA, thanks to mRNA shots, like, you know, destroying the food supply, and then also putting your arms around a wild animal. I know I was just out here in the Pacific Northwest, and I was wandering, and I saw all these signs says "Beware of cougars." And I'm like, well, you know, I actually have some friends who are cougars, and they're quite nice. Their sex life is none of my problem. No, in all seriousness, though, I mean, you know, in the wilds, things are coming back. You know, this is to me one of those cases again where, well, the science said there's no links. The science says there's no this or that, or you know, this species is gone because we looked in the backyard and it's not there. And when you talk about vast land areas, especially about the northern subarctic region and forests around there in the Yukon, in northern British Columbia, having spent some time up there, and those of you from Canada in the chat, feel free to tell me to shut up. There's a lot of nothing. There's a lot of nothing, and trees and bears and squirrels and critters, and anything could be living up there. It really, really could. And it's just, again, someone says something in academia, people agree with them so they can get tenure, and then we end up with lies like just like this. And I think you see it profoundly, as Graham Hancock has been showing in his books, and now in his Netflix TV special, that you tell a lie often enough, it becomes the thing that if you tell the truth is misinformation. Where have we seen that one before, kids?
Yes, and I, for one, especially when it comes to species and creatures that we think may be out there, but as Salty correctly said, they don't really want to go looking for it because it upsets the balance of things. I think it's great, and I think somebody mentioned a little bit further back in the chat, if there are black lynx, then there must be black, was it mountain lions or cougars?
Sure.
Jacob Ironside says, so if we have black lynx, we definitely have black cougars. Well, we have black, no, you call them jaguars, we call them jaguars. Which are the black panthers, which are, they still have the black spots. But this is just great. Shall we watch a little bit of this footage? Now, unfortunately, it was filmed on his camera, obviously his phone, so it's portrait instead of landscape. But let's see what this thing does. Oh, the dog was not happy. Okay.
Go get him. Go get him, boy. Go get him.
That cat just not care.
So it's definitely a cat. There are no F's given. Yeah.
But that thing is beautiful, and that's actually really great footage. So you cannot say that this is anything other than a black lynx. So I was actually really happy to find that this thing existed. Now, whether there is a sustainable population, generally anything that has a high melanin content within its coat is kind of an anomaly. But the fact that it exists is it just makes me smile.
Well, if this is the case, then there's albinism. You know, there's all types of permutations. Again, this is one dude that apparently ranged far enough and had seen and been around humans long enough not to be wigging out. This creature didn't come in all cautious like at dusk when most predators are out. It's out there in the middle of the day. Now, this cat can smell the dog. The dog has marked his territory, right? And the things like wandering up like it ain't no thing. So that, to me, doesn't indicate a species on the brink of extinction. I would say there's probably a healthy population of this animal, probably ranges throughout. But like so many other things, this damn thing isn't walking by the side of the road with its paw out looking for a ride. It comes out at dusk and dawn. It hunts small, probably squirrels, mice, things like that. It's an opportunist like most cats are. What do cats eat? They eat birds, or they eat mice. Okay. So again, this doesn't surprise me at all. And it goes back to, again, what we talked about in the UK with that big cat that you saw. Now, there was a
Yes.
comment from chat, and I think it was Jacob Ironside talking about black panthers or black cougars. I've told this story before, but I was deer hunting about 10 or 11 years ago, and it was near the Minnesota-Wisconsin border in some very thick rolling farmland. And yes, I do understand when you say that, you pretty much say Wisconsin. But that's where the big bucks were. And I was out there. It was snowing sideways. It was probably just after 6:30 in the morning, so light had just come on. And I saw a young buck running faster than I've ever seen a deer run at about 200 yards. And there was a break in the woods, and I just heard the noise. And deer are quiet. Deer sneak around. This deer was hauling ass, and I couldn't figure out why. I saw a flash of a black panther cougar looking thing. The problem with this is the scope and scale of what this mountain lion, cougar, whatever it was completely out of proportion given the distance where I was. And I was entirely sober, and I wasn't hungover, because I'm not one of those guys who gets F-faced before he goes hunting and then is hungover and has a miserable time. I wait until I get my buck, then I drink. But this buck, it was a good sized buck, probably like a 2 or 3 year old, a couple little points on the damn thing. But this panther was much larger and longer than the deer it was chasing, and I'm referring to whitetails. Now, I always thought maybe there was something in my eye, maybe I was making it up, but there was a hell of a racket from this big black cat chasing a 2 to 3 year old, 3 to 4, well, say 4-pointer buck that was tearing ass through the woods. So I'm bringing this up only because we're talking about genetics within species like this. It's just fascinating. There's so much that we don't know. And the problem is when you run into people whose entire mission in life seems to be making shit up to feel important, like genders, like changing the story of Willow, like destroying Star Wars, like all of the shit that we're seeing. When you use logic, it doesn't go anywhere, because they're nothing but effing delusional liars.
Well said. And Smiler Walfme concurs. She says Laura Ingalls Wilder talks about black cougars in Wisconsin. So it seems that these things are a stable population, as you correctly said. Let me say hey to Sarah Green. Great to see you. We've got Soul Assassin. Hey there. Look at all these amazing people. Dempsey, great to see you.
It's great to see you, Sarah Green. It's really great. Soul Assassin, it's great to see you guys. Thanks, everybody, for being here in chat. Really.
Yes. Just jumping back to this article quickly, it says the coat color in the entire lynx genus tends to be stable, with a little variation within species. That's pretty much how it is with all species, if I'm correct, compared to that of other members of the cat family. So whereas you do get the white tigers, you do not get white tigers in the wild. They have to be bred specifically in captivity, for example. So specifically, Canada lynx generally have silver greyish coats in the winter, changing to reddish brown in summer, but accompanied by dark spots and black hairs on the tips and tails.
Yeah,
I think I just really like lynx. I think they're just great cats. And,
I've seen them in the wild before. I mean, I've seen them in the wild in in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I think I've seen some in the Pacific Northwest. We were talking the other day about bears and different types of bears. Everybody wants to see a bear, but you really don't. Not unless there's a whole lot of fat, slow people in front of you. Then you're okay. You know what I'm talking about.
You don't have to be the fastest, you just have to be faster than somebody else. Yes.
It's true. And it helps if you coat them in barbecue sauce when they're not looking. I'm not saying I've done that, but I'm not saying I haven't done that. So.
Check back this time next week for more cooking with salty tips.
That's right. Welcome to the Black Bear Cafe.
It also says, though, researchers have been unable to determine whether the melanism in any species of lynx is adaptive or maladaptive, but Young suggests that the loss of camouflage for this particular lynx when hunting in the snow is likely to not really help it. I would concur with that, because it would stand out like a sore thumb. He speculates that the dark colour might put the animal at a distinct disadvantage when hunting hares during the winter. Now, the other thing that I would probably we said that this has only just come out. I think it came out on the 18th of this year, but this was taken a couple of years ago. Now, I'm hoping that this creature is well. It's doing its lynx thing, living out in the wild. But
this
as
doesn't
we know,
need us.
Yeah,
this
people
doesn't need
tend
us
to be
with our
assholes. So hopefully nobody's gone looking for it.
I can't wait for a gender studies major to turn this into some type of allegory for some type of bullshit, because that's what they're going to do. They're going to take a look at this and say, well, look, this is repressive of the blah, 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 and we need to kill all of the white lynx or give more. This is the idiocy we're dealing with. The same idiocy that has destroyed our entertainment, our pop culture, has permeated academia. And it's not going anywhere. It's really not.
Yes, there is quite literally no escaping from any of this crazy. It's kind of depressing, but also kind of funny at the same time, depending on where your stance is. We've got a couple more people who have joined us. We've got Ryan Roger Athay. Hello, good evening, good to see you. We've got Nearsighted Cyclops, and we've got our favourite polar bear Snorter Poopers. Hey there. And we've got Clobby. Where is he? There he is. Hey, Clobby. Good evening, good afternoon.
Ronan Ranketeer says, I love the thought of Salty just having a small thing of barbecue sauce in his pocket for just such occasions. You have not been in my truck. You have not seen what I have. We got barbecue sauce. We got knives of varying sizes. We have other things which YouTube doesn't like us to talk about. All kinds of way of making fires and fire starters and fire related things. Dehydrated camp food, all of it. I'm not saying it's the apocalypse wagon, but it wouldn't do you any harm to have
you can never be too prepared
or have too many knives.
And as Salty has told me in the past, what was it? 2 is 1 and 1 is none.
Yes.
When it comes to things. Yes.
Yeah. Let's see. You're waiting out the zombie apocalypse and you've got a flashlight. It's not going to last. You got 2 flashlights of the same model that have the same type of battery type. You now have 1, because if one breaks, you can. If you have any common sense at all, you can repair them using 2. If you have multiples of that, essentially you don't count having one thing as being one thing. You have to have 2. You do. And again, we'll have to do a show about preparedness, but about trying to get onto uniform consumables within your preparedness items. All AA batteries, all D batteries, whatever it might be, kind of helps. Just going to say that. But that's not this kind of show. We're talking about lynx and we're talking about barbecue sauce. So you come to the right place. You're on Wild, Weird, Wonderful Werewolf Woo-Woo Wednesday.
There we go. Speaking of woo-woo, what have you got for us, if you don't mind me bringing this in? Because we are going to jump to the next article. This is kind of incredible.
Again, Graham Hancock. I am so pleased that he has this TV show on Netflix. I believe I was having problems with my internet because I moved. The dude was just here, and literally, this is the reason we're 2 minutes late. He walked out the door, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to ride my cell phone again. So, anyway, you don't need to know that. But I haven't seen Graham Hancock's Netflix special. I look forward to seeing it. I'm not subscribed. I watch it through our High Seas Ways, but one of the things that he talked about in Ancient America, which is a book behind me over here, along with Fingerprints of the Gods and Magicians of the Gods, is great climactic changes that happened here on planet Earth that had nothing to do with car farts and nitrogen fertilizer or human beings. There was a massive asteroidal impact at 12,800 years ago and at around 11,600 years ago. Or something happened like that. I happen to believe it was a comet fragment which broke up and then came back as part of the Perseids and came back about 2,000 years later to rake even more hell. There is evidence around the planet, the obsession with astronomy, with very accurate calendars. You have cultures separated by tens of thousands of miles, no common language, all building astrological observatories, and we're told they were literally just eating bugs off the ground and using spears to wipe out a population of mammoths, which was orders of magnitudes larger than them. Now, who taught us all this bullshit? You guessed it, academia. I digress. This article comes to us from Message to Eagle. This is a new article. It says evidence of ancient lakes in the Sahara Desert have been discovered. Now, this is something that has been widely talked about for a very long time, but conventional, respected archaeologists and climatologists, assholes, on the Soros Dole, they have found what is true evidence of lakes under the Sahara Desert. Now, pay attention to these time frames. About 8,000 to 10,000 years ago, a major climate shift took place, and it turned the Sahara into a desert. Before this occurred, the region was inhabited by an ancient civilization scientists know little about. I don't know. I think we can start to see some of their handiwork in the lower Mississippi Valley, but again, that's just me. That makes me a conspiracy theorist, you know, the same type of person that says don't get jabbed up with something experimental, which F's with your DNA.
I've heard that, yeah.
The Sahara is the largest desert in the world. This is a place I have no desire to see or visit. I just don't. It's 3.5 million square miles of sand. The Sahara is so large. It's as large as the United States, and it covers 1/3 of the continent of Africa. You can see here traces of lakes in the Sahara. This is the stuff that they're finding. Temperatures in the Sahara reach 135 degrees, and humidity is as low as 2%. Sahara is one of the hottest, driest places on Earth. Duh. But as recently, again, as 10,000 years ago, and before, it was a wonderful place to live. The Green Sahara was a lush savanna teeming with wildlife, grasses, and trees, and fish-filled lakes. So there was a recently published paper in the Journey of Paleolimnology. If I said that wrong, make fun of me. Scientists point out... Go ahead.
I was going to say, give it a more difficult word to pronounce, guys, please.
Paleolimnology. Scientists point out that of course, we have to turn this into fucking climate change. I'm so over it, guys. The climate's always changing. Scientists point that the understanding the variability of past climate can provide us with an insight how the Sahara could change in the future. A return to conditions similar to the past warm period is possible due to bullshit that people have paid to have researchers say is occurring so they can tax and control everything we do. How's that? So, yeah, everything has to be about climate change. What's the important part here is that the climate of the Earth has constantly been in flux. One of the things I talk about is look at the Joe Rogan Experience interview with Randall Carlson. I believe it's around 628 or 624. He presents the ice core data for Greenland. In that, you can see the oxygen isotopes over 25,000 years. Now, this is a graph that he turns on his side. Fairly stable, up and down, up to 3 to 4 Celsius globally without any of us being here. And then some crazy shit happened 11,800 years ago, and it spikes. A massive warming followed by a massive cold, and then it rebalanced. Now, once it rebalanced, there was yet another impact or some event around 11,800, 600, whatever it is, years ago. Again, same thing. Massive warming followed by kind of a equalization. Then you enter into what is called the Little Ice Age. Please look this stuff up. You are being lied to about everything.
Yes,
because
please.
Too many of us. You know who thinks that? Bill. Good old, what's his name? Klaus. You know, all the billionaires. You know, the ones that hung out on Jeffrey's Island. I'm tired of this shit. And I'm not going to be a coward about this. I'm not. Look at the data on this. Anyway, when that event happened, it changed the surface of the planet. The continental shelves were where the ocean started. You wonder why. You look around the continents on all of your atlases and maps and globes, there's that little bit that sticks out under about 300 to 400 feet of water. That was all above water then. And it had nothing to do with cow farts or carbon or too many people or mammoths or any bullshit like that at all. It's an inconvenient narrative for people who want to poison and control you. It's not a conspiracy theory if they tell you they're going to do it and they're doing it.
Yes, which they absolutely are. And we've talked about this multiple times in the past. And please, guys, check out these interviews. We're not shilling, but it's just very, very interesting. And Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson and they've been basically torn apart by academia for many years, saying that these things weren't true. They've been ostracized from the wider community for trying to bring forth this idea.
No, the other part to that too is it's the same motive. If you can't shame, then you silence. Those of you who are on the regrettable platform called Twitter all know what happened to a bunch of people who said, hey, you shouldn't get something stuck in your body that's experimental that can change your DNA and possibly actually destroy your immune system. And what happened to those people? There was no lively academic debate to weigh the pros and the cons and looked at evidence-based things. Were they? No, they had to be disappeared. They had to be memory holed. Same thing with, say, counting of votes. Can't actually look at why people are saying it. You just can't say it because you have to keep the lies going.
Yes, and we got some fantastic comments in the chat. Thank you, guys. Mr. Batsu, great to see you as always. It says, so many lies have been exposed over the past 5 to 10 years. I don't trust anything an expert, in quotations, or anybody educated says anymore. They only say what the previous experts told them. Absolutely. And just going back to what you were talking about before, Salty, Sarah Green said, I, for one, would love to see a prepper chat by Salty. I'd be curious to see how my preps match up with his.
And I don't claim to know anything. I know what works for me. I would love to talk about organic homesteading and gardening. It's something I've done. That's part of the reason I have relocated for those types of reasons. Also to help some friends out with something I think is really important. And there's also a patriotic organization that's incredibly important to me.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm going to be in a leadership position for, that I look forward to trying to keep together. Because people don't want to seem to be part of civic organizations. People don't really want to go out and hang out, and just sit around and talk face to face. And it makes me crazy because I love
people
doing
talk about communities, but actually putting it into action. So yes, absolutely. Soul Assassin says, Hancock in Salty's podcast when? That would be
talked
amazing.
About this. He's kind of busy right now. There
is somebody else that we're trying to get on, though.
There is somebody else. I want to reach out to Randall Carlson. I would like to talk with him about some of the sacred geometry. Again, there's kind of like to me, it's like there's what really happened 101. That's my perspective on this. And again, I want to give credit where credit is due. I first found out information about this on the Exozone back when Gary Nerdrotic and Doomcock were talking about this stuff. Now, they did a really good job of triggering my going, okay, that makes a lot of sense. And then I did all of my research myself, and I watched all of the podcasts. I got all the books. I read contrarian literature as well. And then I started to look at the actual white papers for some of these things. Now, they can be a little dense, but when you look at the pictures, just like Playboy, it's actually interesting. And you can see from the ice core data, the planet is fine. And it's going to change. Long after I'm gone, long after you're gone. The biggest threat to the planet are those people who are telling us these lies.
Yes.
That's the effing truth. That is the effing truth. I'll wrap this up, Purple, so we can get out of here before I get locked up by the Sleepy Joe. So they found evidence that for the existence of ancient lakes that dated again between 10,000 and 5,000 years ago in the northern Sahara, in particular Algeria. The method is based on an analysis of fossil algae found in the sand and deposited in aquatic environments millions of years ago when the area was covered in lakes. What type of climactic event truly catastrophic climactic event could turn 1/3 of the continent of Africa into an absolutely hellish sandy desert. There's comet impact, there's CMEs, coronal mass injections, possible. I don't know. I'm still leaning toward the Great Comet Impact, where a meteor broke up and large planetary fragments or huge fragments slammed into North America, which then caused the very quick, rapid melting of the great 2-mile thick ice sheets that covered North America and Europe. Something else is I want to encourage you. I talk about Graham Hancock a lot, and I talk about Randall Carlson a lot. So does Purple. There is a professor I have a lot of respect for from Central Washington University. His name is Nick Zentner, Zentr. Now, what Mr. Zentner does is he actually does lectures that make all of this paleontology and geology accessible to us, normal people. One of the things that he covers is Ice Age floods. And his was one of the things that I was watching, trying to challenge Randall Carlson's thesis to this. The problem is what this professor at Central Washington University, again, Nick Zentner, did was confirm it. Again, someone who's in Central Washington is right near the Channel Scablands, where all of those massive flows of water came through when, in a geological instant, the great ice sheets of North America melted. Now, he will show you pictures. He will look at it detached, as an academic does, but talk to you in a very cool way. And one of the things I like about Mr. Zentner is he uses donuts and cakes to show you how things work related to geology. So again, look up Nick Zentner, Zentr. Fascinating stuff.
See,
so
that's the type of teaching I can get behind, using cakes and donuts. Yeah. That's for me. And Salty's recommended him in the past. He's somebody that I knew the name of, but hadn't really delved into his work. So that is my next port of call for research. But let me say hey to a couple more people who have joined us. We've got TZ Burton. He says, hey, Purple. Hey, Salty. Great to see you. We've got Decepticons Cave of Villains. Hey there. Keck44. Great to see you. We've got the Puppet Master himself, Snowdub. Great to see you, as always. And we've got our man in Canada, Zax, and Andy Masterson. Great to see you guys, as always.
All stars. You guys honor us. Thank you for being here.
There he is.
Dude, Silverlock is rocking it, pasting out those deep RPGs. One of the things I look forward to on social media, there are very few things I look forward to on Twitter, but I love, no offense to anybody, it's just,
it's a lot.
Is anyone shocked? Is anyone shocked about Willow? Raise your hand. Are you shocked? Are you shocked that Disney? Are you shocked that Disney destroyed another IP? Silverlock posts these links of awesome RPGs, deep stuff. I love it. And I love all you guys who share all of your passions. It's wonderful because it's like I get to check out what you're into because you guys are into really cool stuff. So, yeah.
Yes, and that's one of the things we found when we were doing the build streams. There were so many people who had these hobbies. It was great to find out, and we love seeing what else you guys have got. But I will move on to the next thing. I'm going to stick with the.
Can I do something? Let me do something. Yeah. You said the magic word. You said build stream. That's the magic word for today. Look what I've got here. I have a retro reissue of a 1960s pirate model kit, which I have bought in special paint for. So it's going to be a ghostly skeletal pirate type of a model. And that's going to go behind me over there. So yeah, I can't wait to do those. We're also going to be doing some live RPG playing, but it's not going to be where you use a stupid thing. We're actually going to roll dice and use cameras. However, before we do that, I have to do the Christmas Carol, which I just did an adaptation of the screenplay for. So look for that. I may be bothering you again. I put out the call last week, but if you're interested in doing some voice work for the Christmas Carol, I'm quick, I'm efficient, and I'm a pretty good director. This adaptation is quick and it's clean. It's based on the 1939 radio play, but changed. I wanted to add some things and take some things away. Again, I said this before, if you were previously in the War of the Worlds video that I did, which now after a month has been copyright claimed for music, which I actually have the rights to, and now I have to fight that because YouTube sucks. So yeah, if you'd like to be part of the Christmas Carol, hit me on Twitter or send me an email. And now I'm going to shut up. Sorry, Purple.
Oh no, not at all. Dempsey says, "Are you seriously doing D&D?"
I'm doing a game called Into the Labyrinth. And it was by, oh my God, I'm going to lose my nerd cred. This guy, so they used to sell these little boxed, they were in little plastic bags and they would come in little plastic cases. Steve Jackson Games. He did a bunch of these little games you could get, and this is based on 4d6. And you essentially roll 4d6 for everything, simplified character classes, simplified combat. Because to me, as someone who was a DM for a number of years, I didn't play very much. I was constantly creating modules with graph paper because I'm a nerd. You just simplified it and it made the game go faster. So you're not looking through 10,000 tables. What happens is that your DM gains a lot more judgment and a lot more credence. And you kind of filter some of the rules out. And depending on the characters' personalities, it really allows you as the DM to make it a really interesting adventure. Sometimes people die, sometimes they don't, but it's just, I like D&D. But having played it recently, and no disrespect to OBG70 Mike, he's fantastic. I love D&D. I found it really cumbersome to try and get through rounds when we should just be attacking and moving on. That had nothing to do with Mike. It has to do with how D&D works, trying to stream it. And so Into the Labyrinth, ITL, you can look it up. It's a game that's been out of print for a while, but it was in demand and there was a reissue of the rules, and I have that in hard copy as well as a PDF. Now I've shared it out with Amanda Manethrin, who's learning the rules as well. But yeah, I'm going to be putting that together, and I'd like to do some of that. So yeah.
That's really cool. And as we've said before, if there isn't any entertainment, we make our own entertainment. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that, and for the Christmas Carol, because we had a lot of fun doing War of the Worlds. Smile a while for me. Hello, sweetheart. She said, as someone who's played Pathfinders for 10 years, I feel like Salty would be an awesome DM.
Legitimate question. Smile a while for me. I can buy the entire basic beginner set, mint in the box, of Pathfinder for $25. Should I do it? Please tell me in chat. And anybody else who's played Pathfinder. Not the card game, but the actual RPG.
Yes, Ronan Racketeer, great to see you. Says I run a vampire. WOD or Cyan game. Okay. That sounds kind of cool. That sounds interesting.
I know vampire. I know that one. Sorry, go ahead.
And we've got a very good Scottish friend. That 70s rock fan. Great to see you. Hey there.
Alberta. Your Christmas card was mailed yesterday. I'm a man of my word, my friend. Hail to you.
This is pretty exciting, and I can't believe we're almost in December. That's amazing. Well, not amazing, but this year's gone really, really quick. So it's been a weird one, but I've enjoyed it. I am going to stick with the cryptid theme for today, if that's okay. So what have I got to share? I have got, this is from a couple of days ago. So this was from Monday. Bota captures a Bigfoot on video in Northern Ontario. So not just sticking with the cryptids, but we're also sticking with a Canadian theme today.
Those of you in Canada, Zax, if you're still here, of course, Brian, I still would love to hear some of your legitimate, not entirely drunk, crazy things, stories you've seen in the woods. Anyone from Canada. I'm also going to include northern Wisconsin, northern Minnesota, any of those states bordering the Canadian border, because Bigfoot doesn't need a passport. Bigfoot doesn't need a passport. Passport.
I like it. Guys, would you like to see this full video, supposedly, of this Bigfoot encounter? Let me know if this full screens it before I press go.
You're good.
We're good? All right, let's see what this guy captured.
Lighting's bad. You may want to kill the audio.
Let's see what we've got. See.
You may want to kill the audio, Purple. Where is he? What am I looking at?
This is in Canada, he says. So this is Ontario. So I'm guessing he's focused in on something. There he is. Okay.
Oh, Jesus. Hold on. Stop. Go back. Stop. Can you zoom in at all?
I cannot. That's as big as it will go.
Chat, what do you think about that? The guy turns his boat at exactly the right time to get. That looks like a dude trying not to fall down in a Bigfoot suit. That's what that looks like.
I thought it was pretty funny, but I don't know. I'm hoping that it kind of pops up or swims across and it comes back. But if it walks back across the other way, I'm calling BS on this one.
Yeah, one of the things you notice in the gait is the gait and the arm movement and the walking is when you look at the 1969 film, the one from Northern California.
Yes, the
there are some
Yep.
the Patterson tape. There are some movements and mannerisms that are not consistent with somebody in an ape suit or whatever the hell this is. This guy literally looks like he's trying to take a leak behind the trees, and these guys won't leave him alone. I'm not wrong.
I thought it was pretty funny, but yeah, just happens to swing the boat around on just the right little bit of rock where you can actually see something against the background. I'm calling shenanigans on this one.
Zach says, are they spotting a new Bigfoot in Salty's neck of the woods? You know what? There are always things that are weird around here, and I actually did some investigative work on a very interesting site. I'm not going to ruin my own video. It goes back to something that was in the international news. It involves an interesting phenomena that has only been observed to, say, a Tunguska, but there was no asteroidal explosion, and it's not too far from me. And we're going to talk about that. Now, of course, the academics came up with some complicated bullshit thing. Yeah, you know what? We're going to look at this. I'm going to show you guys the video. I'm going to show you. I went in the field. This is about 2.5 hours from where I am, in the middle of BFE. Like, this is Bigfoot's backyard. Let's just be honest about it. But when you start looking at trees that are 125 to 150 feet tall, 6 feet across, to all just be blown apart. It's not wind. It's not a wind phenomena. And it's only in one area straight down. I ruined my video. Yeah, Mr. Batsu, you're not wrong. Again. You know?
Yes, I'm calling probably not. Not that I don't believe that Bigfoot and Sasquatch don't exist. Of all the cryptids out there, this is the one that I am convinced does actually exist and is doing what it does and doesn't need us. But this particular one, I think it's just a little bit too convenient. So yeah, we're gonna chalk this up to probably not, but a good attempt.
Yeah. I don't know. That stuff pisses me off. It's like faking an orgasm. Why bother? Just get it right. Just go find Bigfoot. Why do you have to fake it? I don't know. I'm a dude. Yes. I have an interesting thing. Speaking of faking it in reality and things that are not good for you. And in 5G.
Let me bring this in. What have we got here? The Great Purpling. All right, you've got my attention already.
So it's ironic. This, of course, has nothing to do with the one and only Purple Valkyrie, but it has to do with in this great modern leap forward into the transhuman utopia where we own nothing and like it and eat bugs, and the elites get to fondle saplings, and kids have 37 genders. There's something else going on with this, and if I say 5G, I have to be very careful. This is not my channel. But one of the things that you need to know about LED lights is that they are extraordinarily susceptible to electronic RF noise interference. In some cases, subfrequencies, 4G, 5G, other things can actually change the harmonics of that LED light. Now, your eye optically responds to different wavelengths of light. Now, that light is not constant. It's constantly turning on and off. Our eyes can't see it. Now, there are those who speculate and those who've done research which indicate that if a light source or a frequency is vibrating at just the right frequencies, it can mess with you, your health, your well-being. I'm a big believer in something called binaural waves. And go ahead, Purple, you had a question.
I was going to say, but Salty, surely they would never do anything detrimental to the population's health and not tell us about it.
No, not like the Netherlands stealing 3,000 farms because now nitrogen Nitrogen, nitrogen, nitrogen. You know what our atmosphere is made up? What percentage of what we breathe is nitrogen? But yeah, in the Netherlands, they're taking away some of the fertilest, most productive farmland. Why? You guys can answer that question. I think you can go into the supermarket shelves and look. It's not because these child sniffers are our friend. I have to be really careful. So the great purpling, this has to do with why are streetlights in a bunch of major cities turning purple? Almost all at the same time. So this article comes to us from Business Insider. The sky over the city of Vancouver, of course, British Columbia, was the color of a television set turned to a Prince concert. So what this has to do is the spectrum of all of the streetlights in British Columbia. Now, Brian, that 70s rock fan, can tell you all about the politics of British Columbia, and I'm quite familiar with them as well. But the spectrum of Vancouver had taken a hard turn left. It wasn't unsafe, so they say. It was just weird. People began to call because the hue of all of the streetlights was purple. Now, how did this happen? That's because environmentally conscious, super progressive, non-binary Vancouver spent the last few years switching from old sodium vapor lights. Those are the ones where you were a kid. They're kind of yellowish light. You can see where you're going.
Yep.
They changed to LEDs, which are made in China. There you go, Sarah Green. The new bulb, basically it's a bunch of computer chips that convert electricity to light, are cheaper, less power hungry, and supposedly last longer. They don't. But they're made in China. So this didn't start now. It goes back to 2020 when across North America, including all the progressive places like Madison, Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Raleigh, North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, parts of Florida, New Mexico, and of course the shithole called California, they're all experiencing this because they all bought the same chips from China, the LED ones, to replace proven effective American-made technology to light our lives that could not be weaponized, against us. Now, this is also happening in Ireland, and God help you with the crazy shit that's going on in Ireland. So they began seeing this about 2 years ago. This is a representative of Duke Power, which is basically the power system in the Piedmont of North Carolina, which I've lived. People began to call and ask if this was Halloween because their football team at high school was playing under purple lights. Now, this article says it isn't some grand conspiracy, though lots of people saw in the synthetic twilight the effects of 5G radiation. They're saying there's nothing shady here. The streetlights were changing because the LED life, these things last for 10,000 years, couldn't last for a year. This LED streetlight started changing color for no apparent reason because they were made in China and we were lied to.
It's funny how these things that are supposed to be better for us and renewable and better for the planet, like solar panels, wind farms, these lights, they seem to burn out and they're even worse for the environment than they let on. And you talked about the lights that we used to have, back in the 80s, you had that warm orange glow that you correctly said you could actually see by and you felt safe under. I don't want to go anywhere near the new streetlights that we've got in most major cities.
The article goes on to say for the past few years, LEDs have been the hot thing, in part because they don't get hot. Well, actually, because the same leftist who tells you there's 300 genders want to give money to China and put in shit that doesn't work. Why? Because when you're a progressive billionaire, you want something that provides a steady income flow. You want something that breaks down and needs to be replaced all the time. That's why in the future they talk about, for us, you'll own nothing and like it. They want a steady income from rental properties so they don't have to do anything. Now, there was a system like that. It was called feudalism, where nobody owned anything and you worked for the master. That's why a lot of people came to North America, including my relatives, to flee the same bullshit that they're panning off now and calling us progressive. But I digress. So LEDs turn electricity directly into light. There's no intermediate steps. One thing when you have an incandescent bulb is the electricity has to keep firing. So supposedly this was very economical and environmentally friendly. LEDs are neither. LEDs are one of the most toxic things to try and get rid of, along with solar panels. Incredibly toxic, just like the coal plants that charge your effing Teslas. But we can't talk about that, can we? I'm sick of the fucking retardedness of this world. Today, they're a $20 billion a year business that's just replacing these LED streetlights, which now need to be swapped out every 4 to 6 months. Oh my God, they don't last 10,000 years. It's a consumable that rich people in China get to use slave labor to make, as opposed to the sodium light, which would last a couple of years, made in America. Fascinating stuff, Purple Valkyrie, isn't it?
It is, and it is incredibly worrying. And again, this is stuff that people just don't talk about or don't want to, report upon. Do you remember back in the day when news and media used to actually report important things like this? But DJ Ronnie G has got some great comments. He says, I bet those lamps were cranking too much current through half-assed mass-produced LEDs. You are most likely. And he said, when sourcing multiple LEDs, one can find out pretty quickly how hard it is to achieve consistency between each diode. So yeah, they're burning them out because there's too much current going through them.
Yeah. Now, light has a different temperature. That's one of the things. Now, I have lights here in my studio, which are at a warmer temperature here. And then my center is a more pure light because that's how I want to fill. Now, lots of cities settled into the 4000K, which is the lunar glow of a high-end sports car headlight. You know, when you're driving on the highway and there's some asshole with those really bright white lights and you can't see where you're going at night? That's what the street lights were supposed to be. But after only 4 to 6 months, they're now turning into a Prince concert all around the world. Now, the manufacturer of this doesn't care. It just has to pay more money. You see what I mean about creating scarcity? It's really what the Great Reset is. It's creating scarcity of food, scarcity of electricity, scarcity of opportunity, scarcity of housing, scarcity of normalcy, and certainly a scarcity of entertainment. Is that all a coincidence?
I would add scarcity of common sense as well to that. Yes.
But there's a lot of genders. There's a lot of genders, though. You can have all the genders you want. So, yeah, really what this comes down to is this article is basically saying this was a great cash grab and nobody's responsible. And if you say anything about it, you're a racist and a misogynist. Plus, stay away from LEDs.
Plus, global warming for some reason. Yes, that is a fascinating article. And we've talked about this in the past, especially the crazy bright headlights that people have that ruin your night vision when you're trying to drive. But these lights, people don't realize that they're messing with their sleep patterns as well. If you don't have the correct lighting, it completely throws you off. It's why people aren't getting the deep REM sleep that they used to get as well.
Yeah, and that's why I deliberately don't have these things in my home. That's why I wear these that are blue blockers, because I spend a lot of time on here. Now I need a little bit of magnification because Salty's not a spring chicken anymore, but it's mostly to block off the blue light from this. Pay special attention to what you put in your environment, just like what you eat, what you put in your body. Your emotionality and your health starts in the gut. And lights, always try to find things. What can we control? We can't control that there's a bunch of murderous psychopaths that are minor attracted people with billions of dollars trying to kill all of us. We can't do anything about that, at least in ways that I can talk about on YouTube. But what we can do is try and put non-GMO food on ourselves, not get toxic, crazy shit from China and put it in our house, and try and be aware. Control what we can. I spent about 2 years making myself crazy, worrying about the big picture, wanting to know why I couldn't do anything about those really horrible people who, in my opinion, poisoned billions of people and will never face a consequence for it. And at the end of the day, I've talked to some of those people who were poisoned that are members of my family, and they're never going to believe what is right in front of their eyes and what is happening to them physically. It's a hard thing to accept. The facts are all there, but they simply won't admit it. I don't understand how that works. Here we are. So you know what? I'm going to save myself. Save people who want to be saved. It's kind of the way I roll now. Call it mercenary or call it a way of staying sane. I don't know.
Yes, the mental disconnect that we've had, back in the day, we used to be able to have discussions, and you could agree to disagree with people, but there are a subsection of the population that just do not want to hear what's in front of them, and you can't save everybody. You can try, which is a very noble cause, but
Wow.
it's not easy to do. We have got from DJ Ronnie G a huge thank you. He sent us $5. He said, one thing I hate about LEDs is the intense concentrated brightness.
Yes.
Like a bicycle headlight, it can be obscenely blinding to others. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's a great tactical flashlight. One of the best things you can have in your home defense system, besides things involving 2A, is an incredibly bright Maglite flashlight. And I have one that's one of those big old school ones. It's about this ladies is about this big and black. It's like 8 D cells. And I upgraded the original bulb to an LED one. And when you hit that light in the middle of the night, whoever is in your house who shouldn't be there gets hit with that light. They can't see for about 15 seconds. So you then have options. You can use your big black heavy ladies Maglite to then engage in melee, or you can resort to other things. But again, I mean, just this little stuff, just little things. I'm not saying the world is crazy, but it is. You don't need some asshole. You don't need me telling you that. Go buy furniture. Go buy groceries. Go put gas in your car. Go vote. See if that makes a difference. You know what I mean? Sorry.
CZ Burton, he says, we have EMF blockers in our house. A great idea. And let me say a big hello and roll tide to, where's he gone? There he is, Keely Chow. Hey, Keely Chow. Good to see you. Zax says, I only use a disco ball in my room.
I use a disco ball only in my room. Staying alive, staying alive. I can't get that high. You know why? Because I have nuts. Sorry.
Yeah, that's kind of high to get. But A for effort on that one. Guys, the last thing that I'm going to talk about today, let me pull it up, is a little bit of weird history. Now, you guys might be or might not be familiar with this story. It's one that's cool. Kind of well known, and it's one that's told, and it's been told as a children's story. It is the story of the Pied Piper of Hamelin, but apparently there's a disturbing true story behind the famous fable.
Yeah, just like Ring Around the Rosie, Pocket Full of Posies, Cholera. Yeah, we have to do a show about those things someday.
I'd like that. I think that's a great idea. Yeah, just things that have been sanitized, I guess, would be the best way to make them more palatable. All of the Brothers Grimm stories kind of springs to mind, even though they were kind of hardcore. It's when people like Disney got a hold of them that really kind of toned them down. But these stories were to warn people, especially kids.
Until the story is completely destroyed and it's an allegory for trans children, I'm not going to watch it, because that's the only reason Disney exists now, is to re-educate like the People's Republic of China. This is so effing obvious. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of being angry about it. I'm tired of talking about shitty entertainment, because we're part of the problem, because we're giving them what they want. We're giving them, oh my God, this sucks. This is so woke. Yeah, no shit. You know what? There are no gay people in Willow. Maybe there are, but that's not what the story of Willow was. Just like Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, Aliens, fucking Halo.
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings. You know, at a certain point, we're becoming Pavlovian in our response, going, no shit. You know what? We have to build something else. We have to make something else. And I'm not shitting on anybody who has a channel who's covering this stuff, but what I am saying is, at a certain point, this is over. Hollywood has to die. And one of the ways we can accelerate the process is to simply say, this is not entertainment, it's terrible. And to not play the same game they started with that bullshit Reva thing with, what the hell was that show? Obi-Wan Kenobi? Think about a world where Obi-Wan Kenobi had his own TV show and nobody cared. That's not an us problem. That's a them problem. You know what I mean? Like, I'm so beyond this. I'm over it. I mean, this is all we're going to get for a long, long time. It is not going to change. We have to entertain ourselves now. I know it's hard. It sucks. It's not easy doing this stuff. But we can point out and laugh at it, but then don't make 18 videos about the same goddamn thing. That's all I'm saying. And yeah, I sound like an asshole. And what does Salty know? I don't. I'm just saying there's a reason why I've unsubscribed to a lot of things. And it's just because I can't take it anymore. Like, yeah, it sucks. I'm going to do something else now. We go outside and play. You know what I mean? It's either that or we make something new. You want to make something new? Come and talk to me. Let's make something new. I don't know everything, but God damn it, I know I'm tired of being used because I'm a critical piece in their marketing plan and their disinformation plan. If I act like a trained SEAL and just jump whenever they put out yet another piece of trans, multicultural, you're a massage. It's just, I'm done. I'll shut
And
up. I'm sorry.
it's always media that they already have the talking points to attack the fans. Even before whatever show or film comes out, you know that the fans are going to be the ones to blame. So why would you want to be a part of that anymore?
I was in a
Before we continue, a smile a while for me. She says, after a Christmas party with friends for the season, have a good night all. Have a fantastic time. Smile a while for me.
Drink one for me.
Absolutely. And Zach said, I didn't even consider watching Willow. Honestly, I forgot it was coming out. I like the film.
Nobody did when the film came out either. Yeah. I was there. Nobody gave a shit then. I mean, like, I never saw Willow all the way through. I didn't go see it in the theater, and I was the right right age for it when it came out. What was it? I think it was 84, maybe 87. It was in the mid 80s. I never watched it all the way through because I got bored. I did. Last time I saw it was on VHS, and I'm like, I'm done. And so to remake this, who gives a shit? Really? Sorry.
And Jay, great to see you as always. She says, too right, Salty. We're being played by the Hollywood marketing machine. We are, and at a certain point, it's okay to get up and say, I don't want to play anymore. I'm going to go over here.
Fetishizing victimhood. They're fetishizing victimhood because this is what they were taught in university. This is intersectionality. They then get to play the victim because they made a shitty thing. It's like coming in if you're babysitting or you have kids, you have a 5-year-old, and the kid took the cookie jar that your grandmother left you and smashed it on the floor and then said, it's your fault I did this because I don't like these cookies. That's what we're dealing with. So the more we attempt to use logic in an irrational situation, the more irrational the other people on the side of this insanity get. And then we keep using logic until we reach the point of getting angry, and then we call them effers or you're retarded or whatever word I can't say on YouTube because words hurt.
Self-perpetuating cycle. Yeah.
And it's only to get a rise out of us. And at the end of the day, they don't know what they want. They want to have power. And this is how they get power, because we give it to them.
Don't give it to them. No, it's okay to say no at this point, because how many more IPs and how many more things do we love have to be corrupted and changed before enough is enough? I can't think of one amazing IP or franchise that hasn't been hit over the past 5 years, 10 years even. It's incredibly depressing, but this is why we do woo-woo.
Physical media.
Yep. Physical media.
I'm watching John Wayne. I'm watching John Wayne movies I've never seen. I'm watching old stuff that's how, and you know what else? I'm reading a lot. And you know what else I'm doing? I'm outside. I go outside. I walk a lot more now.
And you cannot underestimate getting outside and reconnecting with nature. Absolutely. Let me jump back to this because it's not too long an article, but I thought it was pretty interesting because, as I said, this is a story that's been told for a long time that is actually based on something. So it says, many are familiar with the story of the Pied Piper of Hamelin. Few realize, however, that the story is based on real events, which evolved over the years into a fairy tale made to scare children. Yes, indeed. So the Pied Piper of Hamelin story, for those not familiar with it, is set in 1284 in the town of Hamelin, Lower Saxony in Germany. The town was facing a enormous rat infestation. The rats were absolutely everywhere. They were eating everything. They were attacking the people. Dogs, cats, everything that they had could not
So
fight
it's
these
like
rats.
Hollywood.
It's
So this is an allegory for Hollywood.
It is absolutely. So what we need is a Pied Piper to come in and sort Hollywood out, is what you're saying. But that's what happened in Hamlin. A piper dressed in a coat of many colours appeared. He promised to get rid of the rats in return for payment. The town said, "Yep, great, we'll do that for you. You get rid of the rats, and we'll pay you whatever you ask." He did then get rid of the rats, but the people of Hamlin, or more likely the whoever was in charge, which was probably a mayor, went back on the deal, decided not to pay the piper, and he was furious. He went away vowing revenge.
Yeah,
So
don't mess with the piper.
Don't mess with the piper, especially when you can see what he can do. So on the 26th of the same year, the piper returned and then used his pipe to lure all the children of Hamlin away, never to be seen again, just as he did the rats. Now, there is a part of the story, and it says down here, nevertheless, one or two of the children were left behind. I think one of the stories told
Ugly
it was
ones.
a lame child who couldn't keep up. Or a blind or deaf who couldn't hear the music.
Wow.
So
Ableist.
that's all that was left behind. But records do show that the earliest known story of this town of Hamlin itself depicted in a stained glass window, which is kind of beautiful. That's a piper. That's what the Pied Piper was said to have looked like. Basically, think of a court jester dressed in, flamboyant costume, lots of colors.
Looks like Camilla Harris. That's something she would wear.
It's kind of. I mean, I'm digging the hat, but the rest of it's a little bit over the top.
Yeah, needs knee pads. Needs knee pads.
So it's which dates around 1300 AD. Although it was destroyed in 1660, several written accounts have survived. The oldest comes from Lunenburg, a manuscript, which is that's the picture below, in the year 1284, on the day of St. John's and St. Paul, on June 26th, by a piper clothed in many kinds of colours. 130 children born in Hamlin were seduced and lost to a place of execution near the coppin. Now, the story isn't as graphic as that, especially the kind of sanitized version that's told. Basically, the piper kind of led the kids into what was thought to be a cave, and then the cave sealed itself, leaving behind the blind, crippled, deaf child behind to go back and tell the town what happened.
Wow. Always leave one as a warning. What's interesting is that there's a 1384 entry that says it's been 100 years since our children disappeared. That is a horrifying thing. It really makes you wonder what the actual story of this was. Like, what was this really about in 1284? Maybe they couldn't say the Pied Piper. Maybe this had something to do with the church. Maybe this was a religious thing. Who knows what this was really all about? Because much like now on YouTube, where we have to talk in code, maybe they had to talk in code because, again, who were the power players? You've got princes, you've got dukes. There was a lot of fighting across Germany. And the definition of what Germany was, based upon the wars that were going on there up until probably the 1700s, that border changed quite a bit, is what you could consider Greater Germany or Prussia or France or Poland or some of the other countries over there. So it's fascinating. It really makes you wonder what the hell this was really all about.
It really is. And this is obviously a very famous story, but the town of Hamlin itself was probably a very tiny little place. And for this to happen, for 130 children just to up and disappear, really left its mark and would have probably destroyed the town, because that's an entire generation taken out. Once the population ages, where do you go to look after the elderly and anybody else who needs to take over? Soul Assassin says, always pay what you owe. Wise words. Absolutely.
Yeah. It could be worse. They could have 3 boosters and be under the age of 6. I'm not kidding. I'm not even trying to be funny. It's just sick. All of this. It is. And you're being lied to by people in the media who want you dead. They want you dead. And they don't think it's going to happen to them. They think they're part of the winning team. They're not.
So this article also kind of goes into speculation as to what actually caused the children's disappearance. So if the children's disappearance was not, in fact, an act of revenge on the part of the Piper, what actually caused it? There have been numerous theories trying to explain what happened to the children of Hamlin. For example, one theory suggests that the children died of some natural causes, all 130 of them. Yeah, of course.
Trust
And
the
that
science.
trust the science.
Yeah.
2 weeks to slow the curve. Yes.
to slow the 2 weeks to slow the Piper.
Can we start
old is
calling
new
it the
again.
Piper? I like that idea. I think that works really well. And they also say that maybe the Pied Piper was actually a personification of death. Now, that's not too far stretched. We know there have been different variations of death throughout the years, not just the most famous, the Grim Reaper, the skeleton in the black robe, but it also says by associating rats with the Black Death, which was incredibly prevalent in Europe. As everybody knows, it wipes out a third of the population over there.
China.
So much so that that's the only, I believe, other than war, that's the only thing that's ever caused a dip in the human population of the planet.
Yes, there was also whatever happened between 11,000 and 12,000 years ago, which caused a mass die-off in North America. But one can also anticipate, if you look at the climatic changes, the climatic changes, we just referred to the Sahara, which was a lush savanna, which would have been a great place to be chilling right on the other side of the Mediterranean. Perfect spot to live, right? What was there? What was there? Look at all of the coastal, where are the major population centers now? They're on the coasts. They're on bodies of water. Whatever happened, where all of the mammoths essentially went extinct, all of the large megafauna that was wandering around North America, when we can presume also in Europe, as well as probably Africa and the Middle East, all about that time there was a mass die-off, not just of those species, but also of human beings. So that would be another one I would correlate to this. This is different, though. This was biological warfare. It wasn't made in a wet lab in China, though. It just came from China on boats full of rats.
It just happened.
Bees.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was the case. And Daniel, I absolutely agree. Great to see you. Says we need a Pied Piper horror movie. I think that would be pretty amazing. And TZ Burton said this is like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I hated the Child Catcher, but I think everybody did.
Bang, bang, chitty chitty bang bang. I hate that goddamn song. I had to sing that every year in elementary school, and my choir teacher was the biggest bitch you have ever met. Ever. Talk about someone who need to get laid. I mean, this woman need to get like multiple hot beef injections. She was so cruel. So cruel.
Needed some vitamin D. Yes.
Yeah. large doses of vitamin D. You heard it from Purple Valkyrie, folks.
So I think Salty's probably right about this. And then they kind of go into another theory suggesting that maybe the kids were sent away by their parents because in a small village in agricultural that relied on people being able to work the fields, being able to do hard labor, it makes sense to send away the younger generation. Absolutely.
Not the healthy ones. You send away the ones that came back, the ones that were a burden that couldn't pull their own weight. That's a horrifying thing to say. And yet that is the world. This would have been the Dark Ages. It would have truly been the Dark Ages, and we would have been back in the little ice age around this time.
Mm-hmm.
You can look at, again, climate records around Europe as well as in Asia, indicating what was going on with the weather around the planet. I think it was due to volcanoes, other things. This was not an easy time to be alive. The last thing you're going to get rid of is healthy children. Now, those other ones I talked about, they'd go tie them to a tree and coat them with barbecue sauce and let the wolves have them because they couldn't help, because there was no abundance. I'm not saying that's okay. I'm just saying that's how it was.
There's a reason why people had big families.
Yeah, because a lot of them died. My mom is the youngest. I don't know. I think it's of 16 children, and only 10 of them lived. And that's in the 20th century, guys. My grandmother was born in the early 1890s. She lived to be 106 years old. These are realities. We're not that far removed from them. You know, they didn't have time for 300 genders. You know, they had better shit to do than that. They had real things to do.
Too busy, getting on and being human. But in summation, there may be more truth found in fairy tales. So historical records suggest that the story of the Pied Piper was a real event that took place. This could stoke real fear in parents' hearts, worrying whispers that a number of real children have been lost through some frightening unknown force.
Yeah, like
basically,
Jeffrey's Island.
Yeah, and it's still going on. God damn it. It's still continuing. We still have
Can't see
Pied
that list.
Pipers out there.
We can't see that list, though. We can't see the list that Gilsane went to prison for, can we? We can't see it. Not one name. Not one name. You know why? Because those same names are the ones who are doing all of this shit to us right now. It's exhausting. I'm not even angry. I'm just
frustrated.
That's what it is. Yeah, it's getting old.
It is. And that's why we do these shows, guys, because we love to talk about, the more out there kind of theories. And yes, we have to kind of tiptoe around how we say it and be a little bit more creative, but we try to bring you as much truth as we can and let you make up your own minds.
Yeah. Pay attention to who's attacking who.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anyone's entirely good and anyone's entirely bad, and I'm not trying to be rhetorical in that. But look who's attacking Elon Musk. I don't idolize him, but look who's attacking them and the reasons why. Interesting, isn't it? All of this. The masks are off. Wait till next year when you won't find things in the grocery store. Not because we can't grow them. Not because we can't grow them even without the fertilizer, the industrial shit that's based on aluminum, which is incredibly toxic, but because they don't want to grow the food.
Yes, and look to the skies as well, because 2023 is going to be interesting, so keep looking up.
I don't have any conspiracy theories. I just know what the hell they said they're going to do. How is that a conspiracy theory? Legitimate question. We should get out of here before I get raided by a SWAT team. Purple.
Yes, but I think we had a really good plethora of stories today. So thank you, Salty. Is there anything else that you wanted to cover or talk about before we let everybody get on with their Wednesday?
No, I'm excited to talk about some of these stuff. I wouldn't even call it preparedness. I'd call it what our grandparents used to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It was my grandparents. And just something to think about. You know what I mean? But thanks for having me on, Purple. This has been awesome. I look forward to all my lighting and all of my studio working at some point, and my internet actually being on, so I don't have to ride my cell phone. But thank you very much. Thanks to everybody in chat. You guys are awesome. I'll see you on Saturday. I'm actually going to be on the Late Horror Show with Dino tomorrow night. Of course, you know Dino. He's the guy that has the great old-time radio shows on his channel, has his own paranormal show, does trivia about old movies. He loves horror movies. He loves all of the old-time radio shows. I'm going to be on his show tomorrow night. Of course, I don't have a link, but if you're not doing anything tomorrow night, come and check me out on the Late Horror Show.
Absolutely. That sounds like it's going to be a fantastic chat, and I love listening to Dino's show and to have you guys bounce back and forth. I think it's going to be really interesting. So yes, guys, please check that out. So let me say a massive thank you to my awesome co-host, as always, the master of the esoteric, Salty Traveling Sea. Huge thank you for bringing those great articles today. A huge thank you to everybody who joined us. We love getting to talk woo-woo. As you guys know, there's going to be more coming, but we had a little bit of a kind of a break from YouTube, which is always good to kind of cleanse mentally. But there's a lot more planning and a lot more coming in the very near future, but you guys are awesome for joining us, so thank you, and a big thank you for the super chats as well. Really appreciate those. So guys, please check out the show with Dino and Salty tomorrow. Salty will be back soon as well, and we will be back probably Saturday. Yeah, we'll be back as well next week with more woo-woo, and I think we've probably got some of things coming very soon, but we will let you guys know.
Yeah.
Guys, have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday, and we will see each other very soon. Take care, everyone.
Take care. Bye.